hit 20, you may have noticed, or you're starting to notice, that making friends as an adult becomes more and more difficult as you get older.
Life just becomes a lot more complicated because you have so many obligations that are demanding your attention, while the time required to consider someone a true close friend actually increases as we age.
In fact, a new study recently calculated that on average, it takes about 50 hours of time with someone before you consider them a casual friend, and over 200 hours to consider someone a close friend.
To put that in real-life terms, it apparently takes around 134 hangouts to build a close friendship. That's 134 lunches, coffees, or shared existential meltdowns.
If you're new here, I'm Megan.
I'm Jonas.
And each week we read about new topics that we're interested in because they affect individuals and families, and we create these videos to share what we've learned in hopes that the content is helpful and has a positive impact on people's lives. They say it takes a village.
So why not join ours? So I believe one of the best examples of what it takes for younger kids to make close friends comes from the movie Step Brothers.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yup!
When you're a kid, all it takes to become best friends is being roughly the same age, standing within 10 feet of each other, and agreeing that dinosaurs are cool. Boom! Soulmates. No small talk, no DMs, just straight to, do you want to come over to my house and build a fort?
I actually remember as a kid, my first really close friends were the kids that either lived on my street or in my classes in school. In fact, in order to demonstrate the role that proximity plays in creating and maintaining friendships, there's even been studies done where they found that kids who sat next to or close to one another were more likely to become friends than with kids seated elsewhere in the classroom.
Your potential best friend as a kid could have been sitting 2 desks away, and you would have never known it, all because fate, aka the seating chart, kept you apart. Jebecca could have been my best friend, but instead she sat next to Kyle, and Kyle ate glue.
Our society is really set up for cultivating new friendships in our early years because in school, you're shoved into a building with every other kid in your zip code who's roughly your age, and they're also forced to learn the recorder. So naturally, you're gonna bond. You're all going through the same stuff together, like birthday parties, awkward school dances, failing your driver's test together.
There was also the sweet, sweet convenience of childhood. Your parents chauffeured you to play dates like you were a tiny unemployed VIP. And if you're a millennial, odds are they just dropped you off at the mall where you and your friends wandered around for hours doing absolutely nothing, and somehow it was the coolest thing ever.
But what ends up happening as we grow up is that most of the time, by high school or college, we fall in with a group of friends and we do just about everything together. And the reason we do so much together is because we are close by, we have things in common, and we have roughly the same amount of time to kill because we're all in the same stage of life.
But then something happens that changes everything. Eventually, everybody from your group spreads out, and we start to adapt to our individual lives as adults. This seems to happen in our 20s. People move, so the convenience of proximity is taken away. For example, we left our home state and moved across the country in our mid-20s.
Some people get married, they have kids, others become focused on their careers. As adults, our mindset seems to shift from thinking of ourselves as part of this group to thinking of ourselves on a much more individual level. If my friend without kids wants to get together on a Saturday night, but I have ballet recital for my daughter to go to, and then the next weekend I'm at a work dinner, the obligations just keep on compounding week after week. Suddenly, I don't have time for my friends like I used to. So what happens? We just don't see each other.
Basically, the conditions that made it so easy to be surrounded by these fun and fulfilling relationships eventually get turned on their head. And it's really easy to just say, oh, well, that's just what happens, but that's how we end up here.
The U.S. Surgeon General today declared a new public health epidemic in America.
1 in 3 Americans said they felt lonely at least once a week over the past year. And younger people were more likely to report these feelings than other age groups.
There's a shame that comes with loneliness.
As we mentioned in the introduction of this video, the former Surgeon General released a report about our society here in the US and the loneliness epidemic we're facing. However, this is not just a United States issue, but considered a growing health problem globally.
When looking at the former Surgeon General's document for the US,
It said young people aged 15 to 24 have seen their time spent in person with friends reduced by nearly 70% over the past 2 decades.
There's a lot of factors here, but one of them that stuck out to us as the most pervasive and prevalent was, oh, surprise, surprise, technology and social media.
In the new op-ed, the U.S. Surgeon General is in Congress to take action and pass legislation that will put a warning label on social media apps.
So many people in Gen Z have been struggling with the ramifications of social media, like screen addiction and, a imbalance of dopamine, when we're dependent on constant stimulation all the time.
I believe that social media is the most dangerous product that our kids have legal access to in Texas, and we're going to put a stop to it.
Why at this late date are the heads of social media platforms still denying their platforms' roles in causing the teen mental health crisis?
This report indicates that Americans spend on average 6 hours a day consuming digital media, with 1 in 3 adults saying they're, quote, online almost constantly.
Which is just a polite way of saying, I live on my phone now.
It seems crazy at this point not to think that there's a direct relationship between the big players in social media, their addictive applications, and the social epidemic we're seeing take place in our society.
Mental health is a complex issue, and the existing body of scientific work has not shown a causal link between using social media and young people having worse mental health outcomes.
A direct quote from this Surgeon General's document is that in a US-based study, participants who reported using social media for more than 2 hours a day had about double the odds of reporting increased perceptions of social isolation compared to those who used social media for less than 30 minutes a day.
And it didn't always used to be like this. There was a time when parents talked to their kids, friends actually made eye contact, and no one was mid-sentence while also deep in a 27-minute scroll hole.
I haven't heard that term, scroll hole.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Is that like a real thing?
Yeah.
Okay. We're all distracted, and this ultimately reduces the quality of our conversations because it can lower the level of satisfaction we have when we're around other people. Suddenly, hanging out feels more like waiting in line at the DMV. Technically, we're together, but spiritually, it's more like being on an elevator where you pretend the other people just aren't there. Meg!
Oh.
Yeah.
But beyond just the feeling of loneliness being terrible, we now know that there are consequences that go beyond just missing out on fun with friends.
Extensive research across multiple fields, including epidemiology, neuroscience, medicine, psychology, and sociology, they all consistently show that strong social connections play a crucial role in promoting longevity and overall well-being, while loneliness and social isolation are strongly linked to poor physical, cognitive, and mental health, as well as an increased risk of premature death.
And if the fear of death isn't something that motivates you, it goes even beyond health, because social relationships also impact educational success, job satisfaction, financial stability, and overall how awesome and fulfilling you feel like your life is or isn't. And as we're doing all this research and reading about all the ways that simply prioritizing quality friendships and family relationships can not only theoretically, but literally improve your health and quality of life, I kept thinking, why? What is it about social connection that causes it to be so impactful to our health?
One of the things we found was that friendships can actually help shield us from stress by influencing our physiological responses. For example, when people talk with a supportive friend they trust, these studies show that their blood pressure tends to remain more stable compared to when they interact with someone that they have mixed feelings about, like me and Megan.
Additionally, many studies have shown that high-quality social relationships can lower our cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone. And on top of that, we read that higher levels of social connection were associated with a 40% lower risk of inflammation across someone's lifespan.
So basically, all of this stuff is saying that people need people. All of the science is there, so now let's rewind back to what we said a few minutes ago, that at some point in our 20s, life hits the gas and suddenly friendship turns into a group chat nobody replies to. We've got jobs, bills, weird pain in unexpected places, and somehow no time to do the one thing that literally keeps us sane: hanging out with people we actually like.
And on top of that, a lot of times we can come into new relationships with all these rules that to us define what qualifies someone as a friend. But these people who are new to our lives don't know what our rules are. Or on top of all of these rules that we've made up, we also have past relationships that maybe didn't quite work out. Maybe things went south, and so we create these barriers or these walls so we're less vulnerable to getting hurt. But being able to open up to someone one is what helps to create close relationships.
These are just a few reasons it's harder to make new friends as adults, and when you combine all of our individual baggage with being overworked and dealing with life, and then you throw social media addiction on top of it, that's where many people find themselves today. Just another number in the Surgeon General's report that people are lonely, and it has long-term health consequences. So what do we do about it?
First of all, understand that quality over quantity matters immensely. We're not saying you need to have dozens of friends, but as adults, there's clearly more than enough information here that suggests that we have to prioritize our social lives the same way that we prioritize diet, exercise, and even time with our family.
And we're definitely all prioritizing those things for sure. It's important to accept that the conditions have changed since we were younger, and to be proactive when it comes to nurturing existing relationships or starting new ones.
Join a class, a community, a cult with good snacks. Whatever gets you out of the house and around actual humans. If you have kids, you honestly have a leg up because kids and all of their activities basically group parents who have something in common into the same space for 30 to 60 minutes. Whether it's a park, a dance class, or soccer practice, you are stuck there, so you might as well make a friend. Plus, friends help you move couches, and that's just science.
Right, yes, that is a fact.
Yeah.
Also, if you made it this far, you're basically our friend now. So can you do us a favor as a friend? If you're not subscribed, just hit that subscribe button. Like the video, and if you're feeling what I'm feeling, like we're super best friends, go ahead and drop a comment. Tell us your favorite dinosaur or color or movie.
Or your weirdest intrusive thought, the last thing that you cried about in the shower, your most irrational fear, or which condiment you'd bathe in if absolutely forced to.
You could drop your villain origin story in the comments, or which conspiracy theory you tell everyone is absolutely ridiculous, but we both know you secretly fully believe in it.
Ooh, yeah. Tell us the vegetable that holds the most resentment against you.
You could also tell us what flavor your soul would be if it was a Dorito, what you'd scream if you were suddenly launched into outer space with no explanation.
Bazinga! I thought we were playing. How about you tell us about the most passive-aggressive cloud shape that you've ever seen? Or what do you whisper to your houseplants at night?
Comment the last thing you'd say before being abducted by aliens, or basically, if it makes your therapist say, we'll circle back to that, we want to hear it!